How does the weight of an e-bike impact your ride? Stick around to find out. Hey everyone, I'm Dustin. I have nearly 20 years experience in the bike and e-bike industry. Today we're going to talk about how the weight of an e-bike impacts your ride. But before I get into it, hit that subscribe button below. Stay in touch with us here at 630. Be the first to know about all the new content we're putting out, giveaways we're doing, and of course, new product releases. Right here, I've got the simple step-through e-bike from 630, the 26-inch version and the 20-inch version. Both of these are on the lighter side of electric bikes. If you want to check them out, they're linked in the description below. All right, so e-bikes are obviously heavier than standard bikes because you're adding a battery and you are also adding a motor. So on average, you're increasing the weight of an e-bike over a regular bike by 15 to 20 pounds. Typically, your battery is gonna weigh about 8 pounds-ish, and your motor is gonna weigh anywhere from 5 to 8 pounds itself. So again, anywhere from 10 to 20 pounds, you're gonna increase the weight. I said 15 to 20, 10 to 20, anywhere in that range is how much you're gonna increase the weight of a bike once it becomes an e-bike. Now, the real question is how does it impact your ride? Well, I've done a lot of test rides with a lot of different people, and I can explain to you many ways it'll impact your ride. Now, one thing many people mention when they switch to an e-bike is the weight of it, and it feels heavy and hard for them to control. Now, this is a lot of the riders over the age of 60. They want something to be very light and easy to handle, which is what both of these are. The 26-inch is 57.5 pounds and the 20-inch is 54 pounds. Now, only 3.5 pound difference, right? This one looks like a much bigger bike than this one, but again, you still have the motor and the battery. They're actually both 500 watts, and the batteries are equal size, which provide a capacity for up to 50 miles on a single ride. Now, so you're just adding some metal, and then both of the frames are aluminum. So about 3.5 pounds more of aluminum on this one versus this one. So when many older riders get on, the first thing they're concerned about is the weight and controlling it. Now, one thing is why this e-bike feels much lighter is because of how compact the frame is. So it's easier to handle, and the weight is distributed over a much smaller length, which gives the illusion, I feel like, of it being lighter because it's a little bit easier to control because of how compact it is. Now, not to say this one isn't, not to say this one's difficult to control, but it's a bigger bike, a little bit longer, and so the weight will have a little bit more of an impact over the longer frame. Now, 97% of people don't feel that much of an impact of the weight, but there's key moments, right? Like getting on and off, because now you sort of have to move the bike, lifting the bike, transporting the bike, things like that. But once you're up and rolling and moving, the weight is not much of a factor. However, stopping, if you lose your balance and you lose the bike, it may be hard to hold it up or something like hold it up, and there's a risk of the bike toppling over. So the weight can affect the getting on and off. While you're moving and using the electric, it's not going to impact your experience really much at all. Now, where the weight will have an impact is on the range of the battery. So if you have a heavier e-bike, it's going to decrease the range you will get out of the battery because the heavier it is, the more work the motor has to do. Thus, the battery will drain quicker. This is also the same for a heavier rider. If you have someone who is more or is heavier, they will drain the battery quicker, and you won't be able to go as far. Now, the weight will also impact you going up hills. Depending on the motor size, you will go up slower with a heavier e-bike unless you're compensating with a larger motor. Also, if you're riding your e-bike without the motor, you will feel an impact because now you're having to power something that's heavier than a traditional bicycle. Now, on flat ground, you probably won't feel the difference much at all between riding an e-bike and a regular bike. Yes, it's going to be heavier, but if you have gears like both of these do and you put it into a lower gear like 1, 2, or 3, on flat ground, in all my experience that I've witnessed, very, very little difference and mostly unnoticeable for all the riders, regardless of age. Now, when you start to integrate hills into the ride, if you try to do them without the motor on hills with an e-bike, it's going to feel like a lot more work because of how much more weight you're carrying. Now, 15, 20 pounds may not seem like a lot, but if you're not used to carrying around an extra 15 or 20 pounds, it will have an impact on how hard you have to work to get up those hills without the motor. Now, the way you compensate with that is you actually use the pedal assist to help offset the additional weight. Now, steering, turning, most of the time, very little impact. Again, if you get going at very severe angles, then you may feel the weight of the e-bike wanting to tip over. That's just important that you get used to riding a bike again, because as long as you're keeping the right pace and turning correctly, the weight shouldn't affect you too much. It may take a few rides for you to get used to turning and being accustomed to it, because it is an e-bike. So if you've been riding a regular bike for 20, 30 years, it'll feel different. That little bit of added weight will just feel a little bit different. Again, for a lot of people, doesn't play that big of a role. For some people, takes a little more getting used to. So if you're concerned about the weight, consider a more compact frame, not just decreasing the weight overall. I get a lot of older riders on the 20-inch and they like how it's smaller. The handlebars are closer to their body. It gives them a better feeling of control, and all of them feel like this one weighs far less than 3.5 pounds, more than 3.5 pounds less than this one, even though that's really all it is. So that's my thoughts on how weight impacts an e-bike ride. If you have any questions or thoughts, please comment below or reach out to us, the team at sixthreezero.com, or call us 310-982-2877. Don't forget, both of these e-bikes linked in the description below if you want to check them out. We also offer a 30-day test ride your e-bike policy. If you don't love it in the first 30 days, send it back. No questions asked, no money out of your pocket. In addition to that, we're going to warranty everything for the first year. Anything goes wrong in the first year, we take care of it, parts and labor. And lastly, join our community. We have a Facebook group called 630 Pedalers. There's thousands of members in the group. Join the group before you purchase to talk to existing riders before you make your choice. That way you can be sure you're choosing the right e-bike for you. Then when you have yours, post in the group, make friends, and finally download our app to track your rides and compete on the leaderboard. So thanks for sticking around, and don't forget, it's your journey, your experience. Enjoy the ride.